When you're looking at lighting for your project, one really important thing that we look at is it's not always actually about the light fitting itself. It is about how the room can be indirectly lit or how the architecture can be complemented by artificial lighting.
G'day guys, welcome to the MTDC Lounge. This is a podcast that breaks down everything you need to know about designing and building your ultimate home and what to expect. Whether you're a DIY renovator, a budding developer, or everything in between, we'll dive into the building journey, touching on what to expect, what's next, and how to go about it. We'll hear from a heap of experienced consultants and trades about all aspects. So let's get stuck in. Welcome to the lounge. G'day guys, and welcome to another night of MTDC Lounge. You've got your host Matt, and tonight we've got Michelle from Space with Spark. How are you going?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. Michelle, believe it or not, I don't know if you listen to us, but we talk about you quite a lot on this podcast because, in my opinion, I think the way to finish a design is with lighting.
Absolutely.
With lighting, and what you do is so niche and so special to a space, and you can take a normal dull home and make it absolutely amazing with some appropriately placed lights, and what you do is fantastic. So what I wanted to do tonight is, I guess, ask you the questions of how you got here, why you're here, and how you do it, and explain to the people why it's a good idea to get lighting.
Beautiful. Let's hook in.
Awesome. Okay, so Space with Spark. How did you get there? How did you become a lighting designer?
Look, I guess even as a kid, I was that kid who moved my bedroom around, changed the styling, always painting my walls different colours, adding different light features in. It was inbuilt as a kid. It sort of evolved. I studied full interior design, worked in a company in the building industry, and then into lighting itself, managing in lighting retail. And from there, my knowledge and experience grew from there, and it was all hands-on practical industry experience that got me into the field of lighting design.
Great. Okay. So importantly, when is it a great idea for a client to come and see you to get involved with their lighting?
Look, the earlier the better. I guess you would be best to do it at the stage where obviously all of your structural stuff is confirmed and nothing's going to move any further. But nice and early so that we can obviously go through exactly what you want and then planning the financial side of it as well. So seeing how much you need to set aside so you don't get to the end of the project and have to trim what I say is the most important part of finishing off a project.
One of the biggest things that I try and sell to the clients is lighting is, it gives the accent to the house. It's one of the biggest things I try and tell them. Like, we can do the structural design and everything like that. And then while we go through the design process, nobody ever asks about lighting. Nobody asks, how does this going to look during the night? What can we do to give this a flavour? Now, there's electricians that we work with quite closely. Jesse, he absolutely adores lighting, and he can talk for days on it. What is the difference between what people would expect to be a standard couple of LED lights in the house to what you do, and why is it important?
I guess, look, unless people are really aware of the importance of lighting design, they just do what's generally done in the industry, which is where, it's left to the last minute. The electrician comes in and the builder and say, we'll just throw some downlights in there and maybe a ceiling fan. But what you aren't actually doing is exploring how you're using that space and designing the lighting around you. It's not important to just light a room from wall to wall. It's important to light the room on how you're going to use it and what's going to work for you.
The highlighting lights, we can go on for days about how just a simple LED is not a simple LED anymore. It's you've got the cone, and you've got the ambience, and you've got all the bits and pieces of what a single light LED, or we'll just call it light at the moment. But it's just, there's so many factors coming into play when you're now designing a space particularly around light. Like, I mean, for instance, you did our house, and it's absolutely amazing. And one of the things that we worked with together was, you know, feature lighting over the bench top. We've got, you kindly went out to Redhead Beach and found some driftwood, and we presented it across to each other, and I wanted something a little bit more grungy, and you wanted something a little bit more straight, and it was one of those conversations. And now I've got this beautiful piece of driftwood hanging up in my kitchen with flexi LED tubing around it, which looks magic. People wouldn't know that stuff.
Yeah. I guess people would generally just walk into a retailer and just go, oh, I like that light, and put it in there. But I guess what we try and do is get to know the client, really understand what they're into, and then tailoring and creating pieces that actually make them feel a bit of joy. You know, but they're going to be spending a lot of time in this place. Like, why not have them love it and just feel good while they're there?
So where would you suggest people start really paying attention to things like feature lighting or presentation lighting, walkway lighting, hallway lighting? Talk us through all of it.
Look, I could go on for days about lighting, but to be honest, I guess it's you can definitely overdo it. So I guess it's picking your heroes, picking the pieces that you really want to be your standout feature, and then paring back the rest and sort of telling a story from your front door right through to your exterior.
Particularly in the hallway that we've worked with recently, you put two downlights next to each other right above the hallway. I thought that design was a lot, but using it, it's actually really, it's both a feature because the downlights are right next to each other,
Yeah.
and they're not that normal spread apart
So
look.
to obviously make it feel a little bit more special than just having one standard downlight in the middle, having beautiful architectural low glare downlights that scallop light texture onto the wall. And I guess that's what creates the feeling as you step in the front door.
Cool. So, for people at home, what's scalloping?
Scalloping is where the light starts at a narrow point, almost like a triangle, at the highest point on the wall, and then slowly fades out below from there. So it's basically the light path from the luminaire.
Right, and so it starts to get a little bit softer as it falls down the wall. Is that about right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gives that nice soft touch. Like, it gives the effect of a proper light, but then it gives it like this soft touch on the way down the walls, which
It does, but it also gives you the shadowing. So that shadowing and texture is what creates ambience. Like, who really wants to live in a hospital where it's lit from cornice to architrave?
exactly,
It's so boring.
right, and you've got, and inside those lights, you've got the switches as well. You've got the daylight, you've got the normal, you've got the warm, you've got so many settings to really, again, give an accent to a home that would really just be an afterthought, and then kind of have a space ruined if it's not done right.
That's right. But I guess everybody's different on what colour temperature really stands out to them. What we're looking at when we're putting a design together is the materials that you're using in the project and which one's going to complement it the best, as well as what you're going to feel and use that space for, as to whether you want to be, you know, a bit more relaxed or you want to be a bit more alert and upbeat.
So on that one, I guess we'll break it down by room. So in bedrooms and things like that, let's just say for a moment they've got, you know, they've got a light installed with the fan. Would you, or even LED lights, I suppose, would you suggest like the warm lights, the warm relaxed lights, or would you rather them have like the high lumen light?
We see so many examples and photos on Instagram where people go, you know, just cool white light smashes all the way through their house. But to be honest, it's actually better for your body and your circadian rhythm to go into that nice warmer tone. It helps your body calm down and get ready, you know, to rest. So my big pick for bedrooms, warm white all the way.
Warm white, yeah. Absolutely, and moving through while you're going through for your lounge rooms and things like that. I personally, I'm a big fan of the warm lights all the way throughout. I mean, unless you're entertaining and you're in a space where you need to have everybody awake, I'd be putting warm lights all the way through. However, what would you say?
I agree. Again, it comes down to the materials that's mainly used throughout the project as to which way we would swing it and the client's preference. Some people really like to be in a very overlit room and they want that really crisp, bright white. So I guess I judge the client and see what they want and what they're comfortable under.
Moving through the living room and things like that, how would you invite people to move through the spaces?
I mean, you don't have to do everything all on the ceiling. So I guess it's looking at changing the level of the lighting. Could we, instead of having ceiling downlights, looking at introducing soft wall lighting? I mean, a hallway, you don't need it to be lit like a kitchen, it just needs to get you from A to B. Things like, when the kids do need to go to the bathroom in the evening, having really low line floor lighting and operating them on sensors so that it's just a nice natural movement to the bathroom and then back to bed without too much disruption to their sleep pattern as well.
Yeah, and it's so important for the younger kids too, I think.
Yeah.
Tricky question. How many light switches would you suggest, I guess, per room? By per room, I mean like the bigger rooms, lounge rooms, kitchens, dinings.
Look, if you've only got one or two, there's something wrong. You need to have layers in these spaces. It is what creates all the different ambience or task that you need to do in there. So there's no exact answer to say you should have, 3, you should have 10. I guess it comes down to the person and what they are comfortable with as well.
Do you take part in PowerPoints and things like that as well?
Look, I give little tips and tricks on certain areas with PowerPoints, but we generally will leave that to the electrician. But we do cast an eye over it just to make sure something hasn't been missed.
Would you have a recommendation for how many PowerPoints that you would have in each room?
Look, I guess, again, it comes down to what you need for the task in the room. So, I mean, if it's in a main bedroom, obviously either side of the bed, when you go in there to clean, you need a PowerPoint close by so that you can plug in your vacuum cleaner. You don't want to be climbing in behind furniture to try and, do something basic. It all comes down to each space is completely different. There's no like set number.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about chandeliers and hanging lights?
Love them. I guess it depends on the space and what's going to fit the interior design that's been planned. I'm all for going bold, doing something a little bit different.
What's the weirdest lighting that you've ever done?
Yours. Look, I've done plenty of weird lighting. Like I've recently worked on a really beautiful project out in Uralla with an amazing architecture company and an interior designer, and we actually lit with some pin down lights a boulder, which was put into a big beautiful foyer. Wow. And the whole room is basically glass with black clad walls with a polished concrete floor and then just this amazing boulder. And at night, when those mini downlights are on, it almost feels like you're looking at the moon. It is just so sculptural and beautiful. So I guess that's probably one of my favourite quirky ones that's recent. Also, again, yours was quite fun too, being able to go and find a raw piece of material and then create something unique. That's a bit of a conversation starter.
Absolutely. It's a piece without being in your face either. Like it serves a purpose. It's a great thing to do. I noticed that you do a lot of inset lighting as well. There's a few pictures on your Instagram there where I guess you cut them into the walls, I guess, and they're like little LED strips. Talk us through that.
I guess when you're looking at lighting for your project, one really important thing that we look at is it's not always actually about the light fitting itself. It is about how the room can be indirectly lit or how the architecture can be complemented by artificial lighting. Again, it's not always about the actual fitting itself. But we do have a beautiful range of designer pieces that we source in for our projects. And we always try to, make them unique to each person and their personalities.
And that's part of the discovery process as well. When you meet out with people, a good way to identify everything that they're looking for is the way you do things, and you sit down with your people, and what else do you do there?
So our process generally starts off with a quick 15-minute chat just to sort of figure out, what people are after. We then book in and do a full 90-minute consultation where we really dive deep into the person, how they currently live, and also how they're planning to live in this new space that we're working through. And then the next stage from there is we jump into concept design, which is where we put together a whole heap of fun stuff behind the scenes. We re-meet, and then obviously together we decide which way the client wants to go forward, and then we finalise and gets into the construction process, which is lots of fun.
Because you order and organise all the lights for your clients too, don't you?
We do, yes.
Yeah. So as a business, what do you help with the clients from start to finish?
We basically consult on the lighting design itself. We overview the interiors and sort of make sure that everything's going to work together. We then help the client procure fittings and have it there ready, have a schedule there for the electrician, the builder. That's all, live, so it's current. They can just log in, have a look at all the specs just to make sure everyone's on the same page. But also site visits, so being on site and present and, looking at the architecture as it's being built, slightly tweaking plans and making it work.
So you work with the trades too. So I've seen you in action on site, and you can do it. So and it's amazing to watch you to have those conversations with the trade and point them in the direction of the way you're doing it, and you can really tell your experience throughout the years of how well you know your craft, which is great to watch. What's the biggest mistake that people do when trying to do lighting?
They don't plan for it. They just leave it to the last minute and just be reactive in how they think about it, instead of really spending the time at the start of the project and planning and making sure that it's done correct for them.
What should clients know before they come and see you? Like what should they expect, or what should they be Googling or Pinteresting before they come and speak to a lighting designer?
Oh, goodness. I mean, it's good to have a client that comes in with a bit of a clear idea of all of their finishes and material selections in place. Obviously, we can help guide them if they're a little bit lost and don't have an interior designer on the project.
Should they be paying attention to where they have ambient lighting or directive lighting before they come and see you, or will you help them through that process?
No, we help you through all of it, and we educate people on the things to look out for. So even if people can't afford a full in-home lighting design process, and we just do, say, a 90-minute consult, that 90-minute consult educates the client enough, if they're an avid DIYer, to then be able to say, well, no, I don't actually want that, and be able to push back with the trades and say, this is actually what I need and what I want, and not just being told that's what they can have.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because look, we had you and I both had a similar situation on our job. We were talking an inset LED lighting to our to our bookshelf space, I suppose, to a shelving area, and that would have looked magical. I think everybody was really excited for it. And then when the trades came in and did it, they didn't actually prep for it, and then we ended up having to try and retrospectively change, I guess you could say, a corner lighting, which would have absolutely ruined the space, to actually bringing it back to an inset LED strip. So I completely agree. I think it's incredibly important to have you along, somebody who knows what they're doing, to be able to talk to the trades and at least guide or direct them, and actually say, hang on, that's not right. That's not what we're asking for, and that's not how it happens. And to be guided by somebody who knows what they're doing, I think is invaluable. I think
it's also important to involve the trades. Like, one of the biggest things that I love about my job is getting out on site and having the builder and the electrician and them giving you their input, because they're thinking of it from a totally different perspective. We're looking at function, we're looking at aesthetics, and they're looking at how the hell are we going to put this into the project. And when you cohesively work well with all of those trades, the outcome ends up just smashing it out of the ballpark.
Yeah.
It's when the communication breaks down and that there's not that cohesive and trust and collaboration that you find stuff does go wrong. And unfortunately, every now and then, sometimes things like that happen.
It's the communication thing. It's a common theme. It's communication open, be ready for with your questions, and just being aware of what to expect while on site. It's just, yeah, absolutely invaluable. Do you think the smart lighting fad at the moment that's coming in, smart lighting, smart homes, smart everything? Do you think this is going to stick around? Do you think they're going to build on it? What do you think the direction is for lighting?
Look, I love the concept of smart switching and smart lighting. I personally am a little bit old fashioned. I love just the standard switch. Like, it's very simple, it's natural. If the power goes out and technology fails, it's always there. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas when you start introducing things that speak via Bluetooth and they require programming, there is times where you're going to need a technician in to come and fix something that you can't. But I mean, there are good perks to it as well, like being able to sit on your lounge and just say, "Hey Google, turn my lights on." "Hey Google, make it ambient." All
Yeah.
that sort of stuff is a good side of it, I guess.
All right, let's talk about budgets. What can people expect to spend? Let's say a new build. Yeah, let's say a full new build. What can they expect to spend on any range from, I guess, basic lighting all the way to something that is relatively architectural. Obviously, prices when you go further, prices don't stop. But what can someone expect on a normal build?
On a normal build, I would expect up to around about, say, that $15,000 mark. If you're wanting to go something a little bit more special, you'd go up to, say, your 20 to 25, and then you can keep going from there, I guess, depending on how much you want to integrate into your project.
With your feature lighting and I guess your pieces, I guess your wow factors, what can you expect? I guess to spend in terms of like structural lighting, and what can someone expect to, I guess, spend to upgrade to something like that?
Look, you can get something custom made, and you
Mm,
know what, it might be up to $500 to $1,000 more to get something custom made.
mm,
But when you compare that fitting to a basic retail store bought fitting that everybody else has, that little bit extra investment makes yours unique and perfect to your space.
mm,
And consider it in regards to the cabling as well. Like, is it the most minimal cabling that you can do so that the look really suits that beautiful minimalist kitchen that you're creating?
mm.
So I guess that's the difference with going something custom versus shop brought.
Do you think it's worth a splurge? Do you think spending that money on those feature pieces make it?
In the areas where you're spending a lot of money, like your kitchen,
Mm.
like your bathroom, your master bedroom, your retreat areas, yes. But, not necessarily all the way through your home.
How would you recommend somebody try and save some money but still get that wow factor from, I guess, your centerpieces or your interest pieces?
Because it's looking at some of the simpler ways to save money would be the rooms that obviously are not all on view to the public. So things like garages, spare bedrooms that may not get used, an office, like really keeping everything pared back and simple, and then injecting a little bit more into those key areas that you're in the most, and that you share with your family the most.
What are the dangers of actually leaving the lighting till last? I mean, we've heard about what the importance of having it done first, and or as the design's going on. But let's say a client turns around and goes, "Look, I've just done a full design. We're ready to build next week." What are their dangers, and what can they expect?
I guess if you don't pre-plan for it and just say you come and see us and you've only got a week before rough in, for instance, you're really limiting spending enough time to plan. I guess you can't expect to end up with an amazing outcome if you haven't injected the time in to make it the best it can be, basically.
I know on a structural basis, or I guess on a design basis, if we're doing bathrooms, or if we're doing tight rooms that you need lighting in, one of the things that I find as a common issue is they want um, cavity slider doors, and then there's nowhere to put light switches. Particularly the same with the bathrooms as well. Like the bathrooms have got so many wall fittings and pieces, that are taking a lot of wall real estate. They're placing a light switch appropriately is something that I now specifically think about when I design for clients. Is there any recommendations that you'd give clients to be aware of that?
I guess that's one of the things that we look at when we do a full lighting design. Like, we actually will sit there and look at how you're going to use this space and give you some example switching layouts. And then you then take that to your builder and your electrician and tweak it from there. So we try and educate people on their options. We don't necessarily sit there and say, we think you should do this switch and these PowerPoints, but we just give enough information to teach you to ask your trades the right questions to get that positioning correct.
Is there any horror stories of your lighting designing that you've been involved with that's kind of ruined? Like, have you ever got hold of a job that has been completely ruined by the lighting that you wish you could have taken over earlier?
Oh, goodness. I guess I can't think of anything in particular, but one thing I try and focus on is, like, I might get pulled onto a project that, is an existing home. There's wiring that we're limited to and we don't have any option to change, but we have to work with it. And I'm always up for the challenge of looking at how we can make the best of that situation and in a way that's going to look good and function well. So, yeah.
Mm. Is there anything in, I guess, the energy efficiency and basics and all that are directly affecting your lighting strategy or your design for spaces?
I guess if the basics has a requirement, say that you need to have a ceiling fan in particular rooms, or whether you need to have dedicated fittings, sometimes that dedicated fittings can be really irritating, because if you think about it, most decorative feature pendants are not dedicated because you can put a standard bulb in it. So I guess that's one thing that I find to be a little bit annoying at times. But yeah.
So what makes the room dedicated lighting? Because I know when we do the designs, when we call it a dedicated lighting space, we have to label it as LED lighting. How would you explain that to a client?
Well, dedicated lighting is basically when it can only be capable of taking low energy or LED fittings.
Yeah.
If you have a standard pendant that has a maximum wattage rating of, say, 70 watts capacity, you can still go and get a halogen globe and put a halogen globe in this fitting, which then takes it away from being energy efficient. So I guess they put it in place to encourage people to keep their lighting low energy and not to sort of go back to old ways.
All right, so that's everything about, I guess, inside. We're looking after inside and moving on to the outside, because you do the outside design as well. So there's landscape lighting, there's pool lighting, there's all the bits and pieces. Yeah. How would you recommend your clients deal with your outside lighting?
I guess, again, when you're building your home, is making sure you're planning for where you're going to need that lighting later, and not just sort of leaving it again to a different stage. So where are you going to need some 240 volt power, for future garden lighting that you're going to run, or, how are you going to use those spaces in the long run, and pre-planning for it, because we've got to consider things like switching as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know particularly for our place as well, you've looked after our barbecue area and our outside area with our landscape space. But you've also looked after our security lighting too. So, if somebody goes past, light comes on. Is there any way that you would recommend the clients to be lighting their backyards and making sure that their spaces are appropriately lit?
Again, it's looking at the spaces around, being considerate of your neighbours, and I guess having the option of putting sensors on particular fittings or not, depending on how much you want that to go on and off. If you live near the bush, you might have kangaroos jump past at 3 o'clock in the morning. So being able to turn that fitting on and off without a sensor operation is pretty important as well.
Oh, well, I tell you what, Joel, you've been absolutely amazing. I could ask you a million questions about all your bits and pieces. There's so many questions that I'm getting confused and I'm losing my spot. But
I have a question. Can I ask you a question?
So
you have gone through my full design process from start to finish. Yep. And I guess, what were the highlights for you and for Amy throughout your build journey?
That's a good question. So I know for us, when we first met you, I was very much the same opinion of everybody. I guess I was like, oh, why do I need lighting? You know, a couple of LED strips, a couple of LED lights. Um, but then you said, hey Matt, let me have a go and let's and show and let me show you what we can do. And it was probably the best decision I've ever made, to be honest. It's so you came in, you had a bit of a chat, you asked us, you know, what we wanted from the space, and you know, the kids' rooms weren't that. We didn't need it to be lit up like a Christmas tree. The kids are only going to be in there for a couple of hours, and then they're going to bed anyway. But yeah, we gave them fans and we gave them lights inside the fans, which was great. But I guess the features that were super important to me were, you know, their study space when the kids were doing their homework and things like that. But ultimately, it was doing the designs for our bathrooms and I guess our spaces that really. We really wanted to show people. So with our bathrooms, you did some little little tiny spotlights, and because we have Kit Kat tiles running through our bathrooms, it throws like a really beautiful shadow down there. So that's a nice little feature light, and the LED light underneath the vanity. While we don't use them as much, it's still a beautiful feature. Like particularly if you're just trying to keep the place warm and dim. One of the features that I think you did really well as well was light up our hallways with these low lying lights that kind of spotlit the hallways. Gives it's like a runway for my smallest daughter to work out where we're sleeping, so she can't miss us and she comes over at any time during the night. But that was a really great feature. You obviously, yeah, well, like I said, we've got the proximity lights as well. We use that in our ensuite, particularly, you know, if my partner's asleep, you know, I'll go to the bathroom and there's like a little warm light that kind of shines on. Nobody gets disturbed. But yeah, one of the things that obviously the branch, the driftwood was an amazing touch. I think that was really great. One of the things that we worked on, yeah, very closely was the media room, which is by far probably my favorite room. I've got it child locked, so the kids can't get in there when I'm not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted a star ceiling, and you know, anybody who's even had a go at a star ceiling knows that. You know, they can be quite expensive, and it was one of those things. It's like, oh, you know, I really want that, but we, I gave you a task. You said, give me a hot minute, and you came back, and we found a really cool mob down in, I think it was Victoria, wasn't it? And they threw together some felt panels, and it was a pre wired star panels, which were fantastic because they still talk to each other. It still gives the same effect. It was a quarter of the price of what would have ended up happening.
And just think that poor electrician didn't need to sit there and drill all those individual holes
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your ceiling.
The benefit of having you on board, I guess, for our place as well. You know, I didn't have to worry about the lighting, and it wasn't something that I had to think about and consider. I didn't go and have to harass the Sparky when he came in and said that this is what we're doing, because I would have hit him with all the things that I wanted, and then his head would have spun, and then there was nothing ready. But by the time I finished talking with you and got all the ideas down on the paper, we could go to the Sparky and say, hey, this is what we're doing. This is what we're after. Um, one of the things that I actually missed was the gooseneck lighting above our front door. That's absolutely beautiful, and I think that's fantastic. And the up down lighting, I think that's a very nice way to deal with textures in our facade and our bits and pieces on the front. But yeah, once we got the Sparky involved, everything kind of came together. Particularly when Jess came out and he's helped me with the media room. I'm a bit of a different opinion, actually. I think smart lighting has a place, and the reason why I say that is because Jess has made our media room all smart. So you walk into the room, the lights turn off, you press play, the lights turn down. You press pause, the intermission comes up. It's all fantastic. The way it happens is just amazing. But I can't sell enough to people when they come and see us how important it is to at least get you involved halfway through the process, because there's so much that a house will miss if it's not lit properly.
That's it. You look at what you spend on beautiful finishes and you don't want to chuck in $7 downlights.
No.
They are not going to complement those beautiful finishes to their full potential.
They will not. And it's one of those things that I tell clients all the time. Like, I know you've got one of our other clients at the moment. I think it's going to be really great to see their place lit up. And as a matter of fact, it was one of the things that I said to them from the start. I said, like, we will do what we do, and I can lay out LEDs, not a problem. It's part of our plan. But you need Michelle in to come and light this up properly, so it can be as beautiful inside as it is on the outside. And they're with you now, and they're doing their thing, which is amazing, and I can't wait for that to come out. But I think it's a very niche spot, but an incredibly undervalued
thank you
position. So I think what you do is amazing, and I can't wait to see all the stuff that you do.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt.
Okay. No, well, what I'll do is I'll do a quick couple of questions, far away, don't even think about them, and then we'll wrap up.
Cool.
How does that sound?
Sounds good.
All right, so we touched on it. Warm light or cool light?
Warm, 100%.
Pendants or recessed?
Ooh, it depends on the architecture. Sometimes I like them hidden.
LED strip under the desks or the overhead task lights?
Oh, look, you want task lighting if you're using it for an office, for sure.
Dimmable or fixed?
Dimmable.
A feature wall wash or a spotlight?
Ooh, again, depends on the architecture.
Motion sensors. Do you love them or hate them?
Love them. As long as good quality ones are used, yes.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thanks for listening to this week's app of The Lounge. To make sure you don't miss out on the next episode, hit subscribe. We'd love to get the message out to more homeowners like you. Make sure you leave a rating and a review, and we'll see you on the next app.